top 10 famous songs with unknown originals. You will never guess what the number 1 song is. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. In the comments below, list one topic you think should be in a top 10 video and comment if you subscribe to this channel. I was shocked when I found out in the middle of a discussion about what was a better song, the original or the cover, that the original version that everyone knew about was itself a cover. Research, because of course I can never be wrong, eventually became number 3 on this list. After that, I've been keeping my eyes and ears open. I eventually had 10 songs that totally shocked me that the original version is not the one everyone knows about. I hope there are a few surprises in here for you too. 10 Video killed the radio star Bruce Woolley and the Camera Club. This song is best, only, known as being the first video on MTV. An argument can be made that this and the version by the Buggles are the same exact song, since Bruce wrote it with Trevor Horn and Jeff Downes, who would later form the Buggles. However, since this was released first and has Thomas Dolby on keyboards, I'm crediting it as the original. 9 Susie Q. Dale Hawkins. A moderate hit for Hawkins and released just as what would eventually be Creedence Clearwater Revival was in its infancy, it became the first hit for CCR 11 years later as their first single of their first album. CCR worked the song specifically for airplay on KMPX, an alternative radio station in San Francisco. 8 Moon of Alabama. Lotta Lenya. I've always thought that the Doors song Alabama Song, Whiskey Bar, didn't sound like their regular work, and I found out why. The song was written in 1925 by Bertolt Brecht and set to music in 1927 by Kurt Weill, who was probably not on drugs when it was written. The song was written in English for the German operetta Mahogany and was sung by his wife Lotta Lenya, who sounds a lot like Lily von Shtupp. The song was later used in the full opera Rise and Fall of the City of Mahogany, being the only non-German song. That's right, despite being written by a German for German musical theatre, it is supposed to be sung in English and makes an almost perfect drinking song. 7 The Crying Game. Dave Berry. An absolutely perfect song for its circumstances. Named for the movie that it appeared in, it could not be sung by anyone else other than Boy George. If you haven't seen the movie, I won't spoil it for you. The plaintive singing sets up perfectly the mood of the film as key plot points play out. At least this is what a lot of people think, but the song was around for almost 30 years before the movie was named after the song and not the other way around. While emotional in its own way, I'm sure you'll agree it has a very different feel than the more well-known 1992 version. 6 Piece of My Heart. Emma Franklin. Let's be perfectly honest here. In the 50s and 60s there were many little-known R&B songs that were quickly redone in another style by a different singer that became more mainstream. You can attribute that to American society and racial views at that time, or you can use it to show the influence R&B has had on American music development. Either way, here is a song that was fairly popular on the R&B charts but became a classic when Janis Joplin sang it a year later with her band Big Brother and the Holding Company. 5 Twist and Shout. Top notes with many of these songs, the unknown original and the famous cover sound very similar and are easily identifiable as the same song. The original Twist and Shout by Top Notes sounds nothing like the cover done by the Beatles. The interesting thing is that many people think they have heard the original song by the Isley Brothers, which sounds like the Beatles' version, but no, that was a reworking of the Top Notes song as produced by Phil Spector in one of his first assignments as a record producer. The songwriter Bert Burns hated what Spector did with the song and gave it to the Isley Brothers to redo. 4 Hound Dog. Big Mama Thornton. We all know that Elvis did not write his own music, and that also in the 1950s a lot of singers would sing the same songs, so it should be no surprise that he was not the first to sing Hound Dog. The song was originally done by Big Mama Thornton and reached number 1 on the R&B charts, with Elvis' version coming out 4 years later. I would be natural to think that Elvis did a cover of Thornton's song, but that's not exactly true. Notice how some of the lyrics are different between Thornton's and Elvis, and that some of the more famous lines seem to be missing from Thornton's version. That's because Elvis did a cover of the Freddie Bell version done in Las Vegas, where Bell changed a few of the lyrics. 3. Killing Me Softly with his song Lori Lieberman. One argument about music that everyone can take a side on is whether or not Lauryn Hill's cover of Killing Me Softly was better than the original version from Roberta Flack. Flack's song reached number 1 on the charts and took home 3 Grammy Awards, 2 for Flack and 1 for the song itself, and this version of the song was later inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Lauryn Hill's cover won a Grammy for her group The Fugees and helped the album The Score win a Grammy as well. It reached number 2 in the US and number 1 in the UK. But this is not the only controversy associated with the song. Lori Lieberman claims to have inspired the song based on a poem she wrote about Don McLean, but lyricist Norman Gimbel and music writer Charles Fox disagree and say that Lori talked about the song and Don McLean after they had written it. Wait. Who? Lori Lieberman, a Jennifer Aniston lookalike, sang the original version of the song a year before Roberta Flack catapulted it into the national consciousness. While Flack's version is soul, Lieberman's is pure early 70s folk music. 2. Kiss Maserati. Besides being a music polymath, Prince is probably best known for forming bands and making pancakes. Besides his more famous girl bands, Prince, well okay, really his bassist, formed the R&B boy band Maserati. If you're one of the 4 people that have ever heard of them, then you are familiar with their one-hit 100 miles per hour. That's because there was another song that they wrote based on a short demo Prince gave them. They expanded the lyrics and wrote the music, and it was such a great song that Prince decided he wanted to do the song, so he took the song and songwriting credit, and as a result, Maserati did not release the number 1 and Grammy Award-winning song Kiss on their album, although to be fair, the Grammy was for Prince's performance and not the song itself. 1. Lion Sleeps Tonight. Solomon Linda and the Evening Birds. Okay, I'll be honest with you. You are not going to hear the famous line "The Lion Sleeps Tonight." What you will hear is the song done under the original title Umbube, with the famous style of singing that was actually named for this song that was recorded in 1939 in Johannesburg, South Africa. Starting with Pete Seeger, the song was repeatedly covered and redone. The value of the royalties alone were around $15 million. The song wasn't copyrighted because back then, unlike today, you had to actively copyright your work, but it wasn't public domain either, and to make things worse, Gallo Records was not interested in protecting Linda's interests. Pete Campbell, in reality an alias for a team of producers associated with Pete Seeger and the Weavers but not Seeger himself, who always supported Linda's rights, was in the business of claiming the copyright for older songs as his own. He did the same with the now renamed Wimowee, and the publishers made a mint while Linda made a pittance, even counting the 10 shillings he sold the song for to Gallo, dying broke in 1962. However, under British law, all of the ownership rights went back to Linda's estate in 1987, in time to cash in, after a lawsuit of course, on its use in The Lion King.